it's not like 100% evidence that you can hold up in court, right? However, two things that we will not get back is your reputation, and then also legal fees. They call it like nuisance fines or fees or whatever. But if anyone has ever worked with an attorney, they know how expensive it is. And if you're defending yourself, you could literally.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Wedding Wednesday, right? We've made it to our midweek check-in. So hopefully you guys are all doing well, enjoying the warmer weather. Hopefully it's not raining or anything near you right now. Can enjoy some of it. We're excited tonight. We're going to have Annie Lee from Daughter of Design and Planny talking about the hashtag safe events challenge, and also talking about her gathering guide, which is really an amazing initiative just to kind of help everyone. I mean, this is, we say the word unprecedented, but I think that even the word unprecedented doesn't really fully describe what's going on right now, because it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, there are so many different things that are changing, and literally every day something new and different is happening, and things are reopening, repausing, reclosing. And so being able to stay on top of that, plus trying to manage clients and all of their expectations and emotions, plus, obviously whatever else is going on in your personal life right now, those are all things that, that everyone has to deal with. But hopefully, after chatting with Annie tonight, you guys can have some more information and guidance for that. So I'm just going to check if she's joining right now. And here she is. Awesome.
I'm here.
Yay! How are you?
Good. What's going on?
I love your earrings and your sweater. You have a sweater. It's like summer and you have a sweater.
I'm trying to look very grown. Yeah, I have air conditioning on, so anyway.
You're hilarious. So how are things going? Like Florida's just its own like craziness right now. I mean, you're in Miami, so how is that going on? What's like, are you open, not open, half open?
Yes. We like to fluctuate daily from restaurants being open to not open. And then indoor close right now, honestly, it's indoor closed, outdoor okay, no events, I believe. Yeah, but people masks, at least in Miami, they're required. I don't know about the rest of the state, but there's some naughty people in this state not listening. So what you gotta
Not good. Not good.
do?
Oh my.
But how
Yeah.
are you?
Good. I mean, considering everything, and it's just like it really is a daily a whole nother job, like to keep abreast of like what's closed, what's open,
Oh,
what's happening. Like, even in New York, I mean, there are so many states right now that are on like I call it our no-fly list. Or it's like basically if you're coming to New York from there, you have to self-quarantine for 14 days. You have to submit a form saying how you're going to be doing that.
it's actually, you want me to tell you something sad? Because I had a friend fly into New York from Florida and Arizona. They were given a piece of paper to fill out before they boarded. Those papers were never collected. So
What?
they're not doing it. Like, I don't know how hard it is to just collect the papers like in flight, like a customs form, right? But neither of the people that I've spoken to that have flown in from hotbed states like ours have had their information taken or been tracked whatsoever.
It's got to be so I mean, it literally is like, where who's dropping the ball because it's like, the airlines are like, we don't want to have one more thing that we have to do. Like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna collect
they're
these for you, whatever.
right, exactly. Who knows? But anyhow, let me tell you about the stuff that we are doing that
Yeah.
we collect and we will track, unlike governments and states and airlines. So you heard, I think, that we're working on this gathering guide, which I'm really excited about. And basically, it came about because I just realized how much, like, you can ask 5 people in the same city and they will give you 5 different answers on what they think the rules are for hosting events currently. Some people are outdated, or they've just heard rumors. Like in Miami, there's this very widely accepted rule that masks are at the discretion of the host. But I've read everything out there. There's nothing written down, at least, saying that masks are at the discretion of the host. That doesn't even make sense. Like, why does your event become like a whole nother law and rule, right? Like, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, so I was just like, getting crazy, and I'm seeing more and more people doing events, and they're not doing it correctly. And we've all seen with restaurants what's happened.
Yeah.
There's a naughty restaurants and bars, and then what happens? All of them have to close, and it's like not fair to the people who are doing it the right way, right? So I don't want that to be us. I mean, like, we're not going to even be totally open for a while. Like, we're going to be on the bench for a little bit, but when we do get to open, and we are, I mean, I'm learning there are a lot of parts of the country that are able to do events, and I just want to make sure people do it the safe way, right? So I just want to get them the information. I don't want to make it political, and what they do with it is really going to be up to them. But I just wanted the information at least to be widely known, and encourage people to hopefully adhere to it, and hopefully they will. So it's not just a US thing. I'm making this like a global project. So I'm being really ambitious, and it's really sometimes I'm like, yes, it's like a win. I'm like, oh, thank God that, like, Greece has one rule, right? It's not by island. And then you get to the US and I'm like, all right, cool. Minnesota, one rule. That's like, because otherwise I'm like, that take away like whatever amount of counties they have. Texas, 252 counties. I was like, oh, thank God they have one rule for all non-rural areas. Florida is not even by county, but sometimes by city. It varies. So I think, and you get to kind of understand like how disorganized the system is. Like when it's too granular. You can't have a city that is 2 miles this way and 1 mile this way have totally different rules on like restaurants and clubbing and all that kind of stuff, right? So look, again, I'm trying not, it's so very hard not to cast my judgment and opinion, but I just want to collect the facts, and then maybe I'll create some articles like 10 most ridiculous rules, where it's like, why in God's name can you have, I think in Georgia, I don't know if they've amended it since, but it was limitless indoors, no no distancing, no precautions, but outside 50 people.
Okay, that makes no sense. It's
I know.
opposite. Like,
Yeah. But what someone pointed out, they're like, but they also opened with tattoo parlors. So that was phase one of their reopening phase: tattoo parlors, nail salons, and masseuses. So, it's just, I think, but education is going to be like, I think once people become aware of the rules, it'll make them think twice. And it's like, wow, we're trying to be so careful about these super spreader events, but at the same time, these rules aren't really applying. And I feel a certain sense of like top administration coming around to realizing that they're going to have to do something about it, get a little bit more involved, hopefully. So I want to do everything I can to like have all the facts ready for them, right? And like be like, look, okay, yeah, see here, these are the ones that don't make sense. Highlighted them for you. So what great actually was a great idea from Sarah, who works with me. Because at first I was like, okay, is it going to be our little team? Like how the hell are we going to, there's 3,000 counties alone in the US. How are we going to attack this, right? And she had a brilliant idea of hospitality students right now sure don't have internships, and I'm sure they'd love a little experience, and everyone's at home. So I tapped into like, and I don't know about you, but as a planner, you just get so many resumes over the years from, people asking to be interns and things like that. So and for every intern ever watching, like, I keep them all. Like, I do not throw them away. Because I remember being that intern asking for work. So I know that in my inbox, there's going to be a lot of like the next generation of like the top people, right? Especially like I don't even have a posting for calling for internships. So I'm like, these people have just out of their own initiative, right, emailed me. So I'm like, I already love that about them. So I went to that list first, and I went ahead and emailed a bunch of them. And I went back like up to a year. And I was like, after a year, I think it's like gross for me to be like, hey, thanks for your resume. Um, so I went back and immediately got responses. And then what they did was one student even connected me with her career center, who then posted it to their jobs board, and then have been getting a bunch of inquiries. So tomorrow we have our first orientation with our first group of 10 volunteers, and they're already telling their classmates and friends. And we actually, what's really exciting, I don't know if you know Pablo from
Yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
Pablo went to some like fancy hospitality school, of course, in Switzerland, La Roche. And so he connected me with their alumni association, and they're all excited. They're doing an article on it. They're going to do a posting for their students. So
Awesome.
yes, because, with 10 of us, it would take months, it would. Like, the world is really big, and there's a lot of, it's broken up into so many different rules. So, or into so many different jurisdictions. So I want there to be like, ambitiously, I want to start with 50 volunteers, canvas the earth, and just, because I want to get this thing done sooner than later.
Yeah.
Like my goal, and I don't know, I'm saying it, it's being recorded now, but I would like by August 1st to have 75% of the list done.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, there's lots of parts of the world where people don't host events, right? We're not going to pick a farmland in the middle of nowhere, and we can skip that county, thank God, right? But for the major cities where events are happening and destination events are happening, I want there to be information. And then what we'll do is hopefully, once we have kind of the local reps who are crowdsourcing this document, then what can happen is, like, as they hear updates, then totally, like, they should just go back into the doc and change indoor mask requirements to no if it changes. So we're hoping that they'll also maintain it.
Yeah.
And I think the first part's probably the hardest part, just getting people onboarded and having them fill out the initial information. And then just as you hear, like, if the EU changes their minds, although if I were them, I wouldn't let Americans in either right now, like, they can update their travel restrictions to like 14-day, maybe it's like 14-day quarantine. But for now, yeah, so that's kind of the gist of it. I just feel really passionate about it. It's a big problem we have right now, and I just want to make a solution for it.
I love it. It's one of the things that I love about you. You're like, problem, I have a solution. I can do it. I love
And
it.
I was actually talking to someone about this yesterday, and I was like, and I think one of my best skills is figuring out how to solve problems, but like on the cheap and very in a practical way. Like at first, I mean, go on to actually, so it's going to live on planny.com. And so
Mhm.
there's a gathering guide. You can go on it and look, and like right now, just organically from people sending in, I think I have like 20 something entries of places, right? And it's, at first I was like, oh, I'm gonna make it fancy. It's gonna be like a database that you can search. And I was like, you know what? Let's be real. I'm not making any money right now. So there's no income to be funding all this kind of stuff. And also that sounds like it's gonna take some work and time. And so I was like, you know what? Spreadsheet's just fine. So I, put the spreadsheet live in there, and people can scroll, and everyone dust off your ABCs, and you can figure out where your country and state is,
I
and
love it.
figure.
And I
I'm
think
doing work. You them, yeah.
that's a great way to do it because again, everything is changing every single day. And even people who live in those areas are still like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So, that's it. Morris says that's such an awesome idea. Yeah. Morris, seriously, Annie is like, she's like the queen of that. She's so
Oh, where
good.
your city?
Morris is in New York, I believe, because
I
he
don't
was
have,
in New York.
but here's what I'm also trying to tap into is there's a lot of coalition boards that have already started. I think you've heard about these, right?
Yeah.
So these are our event industry folks who have turned into lobbyists. So this group, especially if you know anyone, if you are that person, I want you because these people are the ones actively trying to make the rules or talking with their local like senators and such. So I want those people because they're a little bit closer to like the changing rules.
Yeah. Well, we spoke with the Illinois coalition,
So
Allie, yeah, and then the DC coalition, and
DC, I need the Jeanette.
I'll give you her info. Yeah. So
Okay.
they were one of the first ones to start,
Yes,
and um,
I'd
and I
love.
think she has a database for all the other ones as well, so she could probably put you in touch. But those are things I think that it's really, I mean, honestly, there are so many people who are like, how can we help each other? Because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's all about doing different things for the same goal. And
Absolutely.
whether you're, interested more in the lawmaking, the lobbying side, or you're more interested in, just kind of helping. Maybe you don't have as much time and you have like three wild children running around. So you're like, I can kind of put in what I know for my area. That's a great way for people to still be active and, and contribute.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's what I'm hoping, and that I've been teaching all my volunteers what the term crowdsourcing is. And so if you don't know, crowdsourcing is basically like ways where the users are the ones entering in the information. So just because you already see, let's say like New York on there, if you are from New York and you know that that's outdated or something is not accurate there, please submit, and then your information will kind of supersede the other person's if it's outdated. So I'm really leaning on not only these initial people who enter the information, but also anyone visiting the site and anyone who's in the know. I want it to be like a really community driven thing where we all are kind of watchdogging it together. And I did put in something, and again, not to make it like, I really didn't want to make this political, right? But I do want to send people to the vice principal's office if they're being naughty, right? So I did add a column where you can report violators in that area because it sucks. It's like, and I feel for like not all police are bad. Not all, there's so many things where a small group of bad misbehaving people really ruin it for the earnest good-hearted people who are just trying to do to do their work. So if you're and look, I mean, I'll be honest, like people for some reason now I'm like, I don't know what to do with this information, but they're tagging me in all sorts of like other people's things where they're hosting big events. Like, did you see her event? It was for 300. They're like, how close those chairs are. I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely not following the rules. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna like, I don't want to like be the person that's like patrolling and like posting.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe there's someone, I did hear of someone, or some people talking about starting like this like anonymous gossip girl type Instagram where you can send all these, bad people basically.
Oh my goodness.
But it is. It's like I see the same names coming across of like holding really not safe events,
You know,
and yeah.
it's not right. And
Mhm.
it's like we all get it. We're all in the same boat. Like
Yeah.
nobody's making money right now because there are no weddings going on right now. Not to the caliber that, that they were planned on. And so everyone's frustrated. You can't just, and it's the same type of thing, like whether you're speeding down the highway because you feel like you really need to get where you're going faster than everyone else. You know, it's we all need to get there. We all want to go the same place, but at what cost?
I'm appealing to people like, because look, everyone has a different um, feeling or sit on a different end of the spectrum of health and safety, right? Like
Mhm.
people, some feel fine traveling right now. Some are like, are you serious? You know, some people are fine going to restaurants and, you know, if it's like by the guidelines, some are like, absolutely not. So the one thing though, I feel like, well, everyone has to comply with is what is legally, you know, what is legal. You can't gray area and make an opinion out of it. I mean, you can lobby against it. It's going to take some time, but for now, when you do certain things, you have to think. I'm trying to approach people as like businesses, right? Be like, all right, do you want to take that liability? I've done some research into like case law in terms of what's going on right now, and you know they can sue you. They can sue you, and I've already heard of clients who are blaming the planners or the venue, saying,
Yeah,
"Well, why did they allow it? How
right.
dare you know? Like I had this 300-person event, but they should have told me no." So just be careful as a business. They'll come after you and be like, it wasn't me. They told me that I could do it. And then at the same time, there are, of course, legal cases where it's like, it's so hard to for sure say someone got the disease there, right? Like, it's so hard to like exactly contact trace. Like, they can say possibly, but it's not like 100% evidence that you can hold up in court, right? However, two things that we will not get back is your reputation and then also legal fees. They call it like nuisance fines or fees or whatever. But if anyone has ever worked with an attorney, they know how expensive it is. And if you're defending yourself, you could literally lose like tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees, but and come out like winning, you know, like come out
Right.
clean and not, you know, have to do whatever, but you just battled that in court and still have to pay those legal fees. And I would rather see out of court. So
Yeah. Well, and that's like, I mean, whether it's playing by the rules
mm,
or wearing a mask or doing anything, it's really about, do you want to be on this, better safe than sorry side, for the good of literally everyone. I mean, when you look at every other country that's been reopening and we're like literally on the blacklist, like we can't go anywhere. I mean, and our cases just keep rising. And it's like, okay, so what have we done differently? Because it's the same virus. What have we done differently to not contain it? And then what should we do going forward? I think that those are the questions that we need to be aware of, because that's just how, I mean, unless we want to stay in the situation for longer.
I talked to a planner in Ireland yesterday, and she was just like, because she's seen stuff on the news, but she just couldn't believe it. She's like, "Is it true that?" I'm like, "Mm-hmm. That's how it is here, right?" And you know, and but here's what I think. You know, you and I think probably the people that you're close with in your circle, and especially you're in New York, so you're with more like-minded people. What the kind of benefit for me in some ways is in being in Florida is seeing how different people feel about this. So you and I think it's so obvious that like this is the safety and this is how it should be. That is not how a lot of people view it. And so that I think that has affected me. It's definitely affected some friendships I've had down here because I'm like, wow, we're wildly different on this. Like I am like, I don't, you know, but it just is. But then at the same time, seeing their justification for it or hearing it makes me understand like how the brain or like the mindset and the reasoning. And so
Mm-hmm.
I kind of came to like, okay, well, you can't fight it if it's law, right? If
Right.
it's legal and you know, like, and you can't don't play like you didn't know. Like if we can make it so widely and easily accessible, because some of these websites, the government websites, are so hard to read. It's like I read like they're like Executive Order 20-24 supersedes 23-20 in line 4, and I was like, okay, so then you have to like read the last one to know what they took away, and it's just not clear, and it doesn't make it very concise and beautiful, like yes mass, no mass, 10 people, 20 people, it should be easier, and it's not, and that's why I think people don't know, it's not interpreted. So we're looking to all the local pros to do that interpretation for us and present it in what I think is a very easy chart to read. It's like masks, yes or no, max people are your, and one of the things I'm very passionate about, because the part of the event that is the most, let's say, dangerous part, and the part that could lead to it being the super spreaderness, is the dance floor. So a lot of cities have not really put guidelines out clearly for dance floors. And my take on it is, and which I would like to promote amongst the event industry, which I've been excited to see some venues already pick up on it, is if nightclubs are closed in your city, dance floors closed in your city as well. Like that's what it means to me, because at a club you have to buy the alcohol. At a wedding, we're giving that shit away for free, like
Yeah.
it is a crazy free dance floor. And so I just feel very strongly, I mean, to be honest, I feel like anywhere where your numbers are that high, if your numbers are XYZ, then your dance floor should be closed. But it's not that kind of rule, that sweeping kind of rule that's going to go, equally across all 50 states. So I think for now, in terms of industry, I would like to make it your dance clubs are closed. Then if you want to make something up where it's like bottle service style club where everyone's dancing at their table, that your distance, you're with your household, and you can do it like bottle service. Have you been to like a bottle service
Yeah,
club?
but I just, when you said like dance at their table, I'm just thinking this is Annie's new, this is like your like new way of doing, like, this is Annie's table dancing, where it's like everybody can dance at their table. Doesn't mean you're dancing on the table. It just means you're dancing at the table and only your table.
On it, they're not as strong as the ones at the clubs. They will buckle under you. Please do not on the tables. However, next to the table, and you just have to like, I think AV is going to have to change. Absolutely, you can't have the speakers just like two speakers in a giant room. It's going to have to be like surround sound in the whole room, so
Yeah.
that everyone from wherever they're at can feel the music and don't have to congregate on the dance floor. I mean, yeah, it totally sucks. Look, I'm a personal like I'm a clubber. Like I love going on a dance floor and the vibe of like just like, dancing with people. Like it's like, the energy and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, totally, like there will be a like little dissipation of that. And I've heard of planners who are drawing circles on the dance floor, but let's be real. You
No
put
one's looking on the floor when they're dancing.
when you think that they're gonna stick in, it's like telling a kindergartner to like stay in their circle when they're drunk. It's like, no way, they're not going to. So what I've also been talking to some planners about is, I mean, I'm gonna start hiring off-duty police officers, because they're not gonna listen to the planner, and I don't want to be the one being like, excuse me, mask, or or like, no, like 6 feet. I don't want to be the enforcer. That's not my job. I'm gonna do everything I can to prepare it to be a safe place. But I don't, if the hosts agree, obviously they'd have to like fund it and want that as well, because I don't want the hosts to have to go over to anyone and be
Mm.
like, that's not their job either. So
Well, I had the conversation with someone else, either this week or last week, and we were talking about it, basically saying how, because, oh, it was last week, I was talking to Desiree, we were saying how planners oftentimes are like kind of the junk drawer, the catch-all of like, it's like, whose job is that? I don't know. Let's just have it be the wedding planner. The wedding planner you can be the mask
yeah,
enforcer, you can be the social distance enforcer, you
well,
can also go tell Uncle Josh that he, you know what I mean? Like, that's not your job, but
yeah, I
they're not
know.
going to it.
We
So,
all have to sort out a drunk guest, and it's not like, I'm sorry, like I've been pushed. I've been like, it's like, it's not my job. And so, especially now, I think, you know, there'll have to be a lot of communication prior to guests arriving to expect, like, if someone's going to have like a Costco moment where they're just going to totally, I don't know why poor Costco is the example in this, but like, if they're going to refuse to wear the mask, it's it's going to be, if I have the backing from the clients and the host to say no mask, no entry or something, then we're going to be like, I'm sorry, we'll have to say like the venue and, you know, the like venue or legal or whoever won't permit it or something, and it'll have to be so. But I don't want, again, I don't want to be the person. I really encourage all the planners out there to hire off-duty security, you know, police officers, and get security guards. It's really not that expensive. It's like what, you know, sometimes like $20, $25 an hour per guard. So you know, why not? Or I don't know if a guard seems too serious. I don't know if you want to get like EMT, but it's like a little softer. It's like that's like a health professional there. I really, really wish there was a faster test. And I have heard of people, although I heard it's extremely expensive, having a test site at the entry of the event and doing very rapid testing. But
Wow.
it's like a lot of money.
That's, I mean, and I mean, honestly, because most people are rescheduling to next year anyways, the
Yeah.
people who are doing it right now, unfortunately, they're like the guinea pigs. And so everyone's kind of figuring out like what works, what doesn't, what rules do we need to have, because people aren't following kind of what we call the common sense or what they would call the common sense rules. So it's like, it's understanding, you know, how are you going to navigate that? And literally every single couple and their friend group, their family, they all have different ideas about that.
And
So
look, you're talking to like someone, I love a good loophole, you know, like I will loophole the crap out. What you're telling me is that we have to turn off the music, but not if we, you know. So I always find that loophole, but there are times, and so people are, because the rules aren't clearly stated in a lot of places. They don't say no dance floor. So it's like a lot of people are interpreting that. So what you're telling me is that I can have a dance floor. It's like, well, I guess so. If you look at it like that, it doesn't say you cannot. So just trying to, that's probably my most passionate part about this whole gathering guide, is just no nightclubs, no dance floor. Although some cities, it's shot, I thought, was it Minnesota? Yes, dance floors, no nightclubs. Which someone in the legislative office has never been to a party before and doesn't know that like it turns into a full on club at
no,
the
everyone just stands there with like, you know, their arms erect, like, you know, when you're in like junior high and
line dancing parties
that's,
where, yeah.
no, nobody gets close. It's definitely social distance, like 6 feet away from everyone now.
So that's the part that I feel very, if I could PSA really hard, that like dance floors are like the worst part. You know, I was talking to Ashley Baber. She's the one who brought, like, she phrased it so well. Ashley Baber Weddings in Atlanta. She was saying, well, if you think about it, especially weddings are theater experience turned into restaurant experience, turned into nightclub. And I was like, you're so right. You know, if your city doesn't have rules for events, or, you know, you can just kind of default because they have 100%. Like someone said yesterday, oh, there's no rules in New York. I'm like, for sure there's rules in New York. Like there are, when like for sure rules. I promise you there are. And I'm like, I will find those for you. I'll get it for you. I'm
Yeah.
like she's a big planner, and I was like, how do you think that there's no rules in New York yet? I'm like, for sure there's rules in New York.
But
So that's,
to your
yeah.
point about the loophole, like a lot of people are like, well, if it's not explicitly stated, maybe there's no rule. And that's
Yeah.
where your gathering guide really helps, because, you know, again, we can all just sit in our own echo chamber and be like, yeah, I didn't hear anything. So, but if you are really, again, a part of the community, of the industry, and wanting it to be good for everyone, as fast and soon as possible, then, being able to crowdsource that, I think it's such a great idea because it really helps everyone understand, like, okay, it's not just my city, or it's not just my county, or it's not just my state. This is what's happening around the world, and we're in this together, not like just separate little things.
And it's so, I mean, I'm having a great time. First of all, I've learned about like 10 countries that I didn't even know about ever. So I was like, oh, I was like, did you know there's a country in Africa named, and I mean, I feel like dumb for not knowing this, but I feel now enlightened. But it's just kind of sometimes also fun to see other cities and be like, that's interesting. Or like a lot of the, like, Ireland, Korea, and New Zealand, places that got their stuff together, even Greece. Greece did a great job. Like their recovery was amazing. And just looking at their rules, like there's a part of me, like if you like my jealous face, I'm like, damn, they're okay again. I'm like that. I'm like so jealous. I'm like, they get to have parties again. Like, but yeah. So we look. I think especially for people who feel like, because we don't, most of us, we don't have control over what's going on. But what we can control, or what we what we can do on a very minor level, is just contribute to this guide, let people know about it, and adhere to it. Right? That's the best we can do in our own little bubbles and circles.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, I mean, it's definitely something that it's it's not just crowdsourced, but it's like it's I don't want to say crowd policed, but it's definitely, it's
Yep.
one of the, like,
Yeah.
we're all wanting to have this be the best possible version. It's not just one group, it's not just one person, it's not just one business or company. It's everybody coming together to make sure that everyone can, know the best practices. Because I mean, I would hope, again, not everyone, but most everyone, you know, when you know better, you do better. And
Mhm.
so when you can give them opportunities to know better,
Yeah.
they're good, hopefully.
I knew this girl. I mean, it was all kind of happening at the same time. Like I think I got upset because I saw this girl I know go to a restaurant in a group of 12, right? And this was one of the clubs that got closed down for being, turning into basically a nightclub, right?
Mhm.
And I said, I let her know. I was like, I don't think that was a good idea. Go as a group of 12. And she said, well, it's the restaurant's fault. They should have stopped us. And I was like, yeah, they should have, but so I was like, okay, this was kind of like when it dawned on me. I'm like, people are just going to blame the businesses. They're just, not going to take personal responsibility for some people. So if you can't like lean on citizens to do the right thing, then we have to do like have the businesses be the ones that do the right thing.
Yeah. And I mean, you're totally right. Because that's, if we have to rely on if it's always going to be somebody else's problem, instead of really thinking like, okay, as a business, what am I going to do to protect not just myself, but other people?
Yeah,
You know, that's key. So,
I know. So let's see. So I mean, I put it live this week. I've got all my volunteers starting tomorrow. And, I'm hoping I gave them the deadline, these poor, and they're all girls right now. I welcome, I didn't put in the job description, it has to be only girls, but I welcome all volunteers. But these girls, this first group of girls, they know that I would like a major dent in this list by August 1st. And they're like, how many hours per week are we working? And I told them 80. So I was like, minimum 15, but when you're not sleeping, I'd like you to be doing this. So
well, I have nothing else to do, so I'd love to.
yeah, that I'm hoping let me take advantage. Let me find that, like, that workforce that, typically, and I told them, I was like, look, this is also good for you. I mean, I don't have to sell them on it. They're such earnest, great people. Like, I'm so excited about the group that's starting. But I was like, look, if you want a job in a couple of years when you graduate, you got to make sure there's an event industry still intact. So
Yeah, I mean, that's
we've all,
absolutely.
yeah. I
No.
put actually I put this stat out today, and it actually decreased because I just checked it 3 months ago. So before COVID, the event industry, well, specifically wedding, event, meeting, convention planner industry was growing by 11%. It was one of the fastest growing jobs in the US. And now it says 7%, which is still above average for other industries. But I'm like, is it 7%? Like,
Mm.
you it was, yeah, today was a weird day because then I was on the Zoom call with a bunch of like, New York coalition people put together with Mitt Romney's office because I think he's on the economic committee, and they're
Okay.
just their case in terms of how hard hit event industry is. And it was emotional and gut wrenching to hear people talk about what they're going through. David Beam mentioned that yesterday he listed his farm for sale. You know, like that was like, oh, this man has like worked his whole career to
Yeah.
have a farm. Like, you know what I mean? Like it is his, and now to have to sell it. So we're all doing things, and it's turned into this like survival mode, and I don't know. It feels a little heavy today, but I'm trying to get out of it and be like, all right, we can move up and on. We'll find a way. But yeah, today was a little bit heavy.
That's, yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, it's, again, it's such a good reminder, I think, to all of us, because no matter what it is that we're going through, I'd say that the majority of people are kind of past that like initial shock of like, oh my goodness, shelter in place or wear a mask or do this. Like they're kind of at that, yeah, whatever. And so either they're, yeah, whatever, I'm going to do it, or yeah, whatever, I'm going to do whatever I want, like, make me do something else. And so I think sometimes like we need that gut wrench to really, to kind of bring back into that reality. Like it's easy to just be callous and be like, yeah, it's same old. But in reality, it's not. When you have people who like, having to literally change their entire lives, sell things that are so important to them, that they worked so hard for their whole life, you know, there's a reason for that. It's not just because like, oh, it's an economic downturn, or oh, it's a whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's really because there's so much that needs to, again, be addressed and needs our attention. I mean, we can't just pretend like it doesn't matter anymore. So I mean, that's one of the things that I love about what you're doing, is that it's really hopefully helping people. Again, everybody's bandwidth is different. So some people are like, I really don't have the bandwidth to join the coalitions and, be on
Right.
these calls and do all of these kind of really large things. But I can enter in information for my area, or I can kind of go through and check and it looks right to me. Even those small things are important. So I'd really encourage people to go on to Planning and take a look and, fill out your area. Even if, someone else has already filled things out, if you can add in something or double check something, 5 eyes, 500 eyes, 5,000 eyes are going to be better than just one. So, and it's going to be helpful for everyone. So,
Yeah. When it gets to a good enough place, the knot is going to blast it out to the pro side to recruit some more people, and they're going to add it to their client side to
good.
just, help spread the information. So I'm going to go on, and even travel magazines, anyone who could use the information. Like I'll reach out to Airbnb, see if, right now they just have a guide and a bunch of links to different cities' sites, but I don't know if they want to do something more specific and yet, not have it be on their backs, right? Like I'll put my disclaimers and take the heat if stuff is incorrect, but yeah, we're
That's the whole point, is that it's crowdsourced. So it's not like this is Annie's guide to table dancing.
why are you yeah. I everyone just for the record, I have okay, I can't say I've never danced on table, but I not dancer as some people are trying to make it sound like.
Listen, your words. No. but thank you. I think it is really something that, again, if we can all just do a little bit, it's gonna go a far ways. So thank you for all you're doing, because that is definitely not easy, because I know you also have a million other things that you're doing. So thank you, because Katie Mass has joined from Aisle Planner. That's a great resource as well for you to connect with, because all of their planners, I'm sure, would, one, appreciate the information, but also two, could definitely lend information as well.
Katie, email me. Yeah. Annie.
Her info, yeah, definitely, because I think that'd be a great connection also. Honestly, like, the more that we can connect people and help people understand like where they fit into the greater industry,
Yeah.
it's going to be better for everyone. Cool. Thank you, my dear. Yes, I will absolutely connect you guys. Awesome. And I have to ask before I sign off, how are the cats?
Um, Good. They're outside right now. It was their birthday yesterday, so
Oh,
had a little cake.
so cute. I love your TikTok of when you're like, hi, I want to pet you. And it's like, not now. The
Yeah.
no, not now. So
Yeah.
cute.
Motor, that's Motor, and Motor has this weird like it's called a primordial pouch, which I've never heard of, but it looks like he gave birth recently. It's like this like saggy pouch, but it's actually, I asked my vet and he's like, yeah, some cats have it, and basically it's like a protective thing so that if anyone like swipes at their gut, it protects their internal organs. But I was like, I've never seen it, and he looks like he was like a new mom. And he's yeah.
I've never seen that.
Maybe that's just everyone. We'll have a
That's
off.
funny. Oh, but it's like it doesn't hurt them or anything. Like they're not.
No, it's just like extra skin. It's weird. I'll show it to you.
Funny. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And have a wonderful night. I hope you can relax and kind of decompress after all the heavy conversations today.
A good old dinner right now.
Good, good. All right. Well, thank you, my dear. Everyone, you guys can find Annie at Ask Planny. So on Instagram, Ask Planny. And you can go on to the Planny website and fill out your information for the gathering guide. And it's planny.com, right?
Planny.com. You can also just go to Ask Planny bio, or the bio link, and it has everything there. So you can go straight to and fill out the form.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.